Hello, YouTube, and welcome back to the 4th episode of Mother's Mysteries, where I do my best to dive into the various mysteries, secrets, things, basically anything that reveals more of the goddess to me, because I just love her. And every time I go further into this, I just find more depth and more beauty, and I love sharing that, and people love hearing it, and it's really awesome. So also in advance, I just want to apologize that you will probably hear dogs barking, noise in the background, people working, people singing, yelling. I'm outside right now, so just bear with me, and hopefully it's not too much of a distraction. So if you haven't watched any of these before, if you don't know who I am, my name is Mariah, and I love all things related to the goddess. And I've been kind of chatting and finding different things about her, and then, you know, suddenly I had a little bit of aim in how to share her. So for this video, I have something I want to talk about specifically, because it's not so much like a huge mystical mystery kind of thing, but it does work with that. It's mistakes. And that's what I'm going to talk about today, because myself, I have struggled with perfectionism for a long time. It's basically, when you're a firstborn, it's kind of like you just get it when you're born. You just get a little bit of perfectionism and you have to figure it out. And so I'm sure many people can relate. It's not that everything I need to do needs to be perfect. It's that I'm afraid that if I'm not perfect, that like nobody's gonna like me. Like, that's kind of what I experience with perfectionism. So if I make a mistake that is like, I had no intentions of hurting anybody or of making a mistake, obviously, like, it was just not intended. What was in my heart was a good intention, and still a mistake happens, I could beat myself up for like days of being like, of how did I do that? How can I turn back time and make a different decision? How can I do blah, 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 blah. How can I fix? So I had one of those recently. The eclipse season, man, they really get you, those stars and eclipses. So that's what has inspired me to do this video. And include it in my Mother's Mysteries series, because she really came through to me and told me a lesson. So mistakes. Recently, in my own experience, sorry, I just kind of lost my train of thought with the dog barking. And it's perfectly normal and perfectly human to make mistakes. And you know what? We're supposed to make mistakes. We are allowed to have an intention and have something else happen that wasn't what we intended. And we have so much capacity to have something else happen that's better, right? Like, we are so magnificent that the future is what we decide. So when you make a mistake and you screw up in whatever way, it doesn't mean that it's over and like that mistake is just going to go on a plaque above your head and everybody's going to see it, and you have to walk around with that for the rest of your life. Like, no, that's just not true. So sorry, I've got a lot of mosquito bites. So yeah, recently I was kind of in the throes of that, of making a mistake, beating myself up, and I was like, wait, I don't have to go through this the way that I've always been through this, where you make a mistake, beat yourself up, and then like don't really deal with it, and then later you remember it and you're like, oh god, how can I turn back time again and fix that? And I was like, I don't have to do that anymore, but I don't know what else to do. Like, I still wanted to fix it. I still wanted to do something. Like, I was just like, like spinning my wheels. Like, how can I make this better from something that I never even intended to happen? And, it's not that it wasn't my control. It was my mistake. But, you have intentions when you do things. And so I was like, okay, I have another faculty that I can rely on at this point. Before, when I've been through these things and, it's like a mistake where you're like, ooh, I don't want to tell anybody, I don't want to blah. And finally, this time, I was like, wait, I talk about the goddess all the time. Like, obviously she shows up in my life too. Like, it's not like I just talk about her and she leaves me alone. Like, no, obviously not. I have a close relationship with the goddess because I love her, and it's our earth, and we're living inside of her skin right now. And so I just asked, I was like, what is the lesson here? What can I learn to move me forward? Because the future is undecided. I could have the future that I was envisioning at that point is that I'm just going to make mistake after mistake after mistake, and everybody's going to leave, and I'm going to be left with nothing, and that's just like panic thoughts. I'm sure some of you can relate. Hopefully not very much of you, because it really sucks. And Sophia just came through with like lightning clarity, and this is what's so amazing about her being light and related to like storms, thunderstorms and lightning, and John Lamb Lash even refers to her as Vajravilasi, which means like lightning goddess, something like that, or electric light, something like that. So when you get these flashes from her, it's just like boom, and it just hits you like, and you're like, wait, damn. And so what she said to me was, Mariah, you think you're the only person that's ever made a mistake? She was like, I made a huge mistake. She was like, I made the worst mistake that we humans are still dealing with right now. And I was like, oh, you did. And then she was like, and do you not love me? Do I not have the devotion of all my people who know the planet as a being of support that has light and intelligence? Am I not still loved, helped, aided, assisted in all of these ways by so many dimensions, regardless of the colossal mistake that was the result of Sophia? It was, I don't like saying it's her fault, because fault is like not a cool word for me anyways. But it was as a result of her actions. And this is not to say like, oh, we all screw up and we need to be better and stuff like that. It's that we have this delusion that has been given to us by the mistake that she made. So, what was her mistake? If you've watched my other videos, I'm just gonna grab a little water, you'll know that in the Gnostic story, in my retelling of it, which is like mostly from John Lamb Lash and my own just like intuition, you'll know that when Sophia was in her lab, and this is in the galactic core, like if this isn't making any sense to you, watch my first episode of this series, because I say the whole thing. Also, I have a written version, a really short, it's on my website. I'll link it in the box below. So when she was in the galactic core, which is where the aeons live and exist and create things and send them out into our universe. This galactic center is called the pleroma. They send it through into our material reality, and that's called the kanoma. This is from the Gnostic text. So anyways, she's living in the pleroma, and she had already created the human genome, and she did it in partnership with her male counterpart. These things are always done in male-female pairs, creations, and it's not like a man and a woman. It's more like definitely male-female, but they're not human. They're much bigger. They're kind of like huge torrent energy animals of creator beings. Like it's something that, unless you grew up with this story, maybe it would be totally like whatever to you. But because the Gnostic creation story is so new to us in these modern times, it can be a little abstract. So anyways, they created the human genome together. They created 10 versions, and they are moving on to lipstick. The 11th version, because it wasn't working out for us for some reason. Some reason or another. There's things about the Gnostic creation story that is like, if you wanted to go into that's like a whole other realm. Like, each part of the story has so much depth, and it's just so beautiful. Anyways, so Sophia, being a mother of a creation, she was like, man, how can I guarantee the success of my amazing creation that has genius potential? How can I get them to express as geniuses as I intended in the original genome? And she, being this, like, not human, this creator goddess that lives in the core of the galaxy, like, just, something else. There needs to be a new category for what she is. Because of their ability to create, in her imagining of a solution, in her thinking of how can I help, how can I guarantee the success, on her own, she was doing this thinking by herself. Okay, that's like the most important part of what I'm saying right now. I don't know where her male counterpart was. His name is Thelete. I don't know what Thelete was doing. Probably minding his own business. And Sophia is like, how do I help these people? And so Thelete wasn't aware that she was thinking and imagining and basically having like a lucid dream in a sense. And yet she was doing it. She was having these thoughts of how to help us. And because they are creator beings, thoughts are not inactive. Everything is material. So whenever something happens, something is imagined, created, or whatever, it becomes a material reality. And so the way that she was thinking of us had compelled her so much in her imagination and her dreaming, and it's like a lucid dream. She, and I believe it was an aspect of her. I want to say that an aspect of her still exists in the galactic core, and her imagination dream body that came through the core, through the galactic core, is like, how we have an astral body. Like, I almost want to say it's kind of like that. And that's why our reality is so, like, malleable. Anyways, there's some, like, specifics like that where it can get really sticky. And you're like, I just don't know. So anyways, she fell unilaterally because of her attempts to help us, like that is a good intention. Okay, if you're intending to help somebody else, if you're intending to make life more harmonious, you don't expect something bad to happen, right? And so when she fell, because she fell through the core without her male counterpart supporting her, aiding her in any way, she had a deficiency. She was missing that. Okay? She was missing that part. And as a result, because we're already at like anomaly number, I don't know, 2, 3, 4. Like the first anomaly was her imagining and falling into the Canoma, into the Milky Way galaxy. So, you know, it's just a series of anomalies after that. And you know what? That her thinking without her male counterpart, Thelete, that's a mistake. You know, that's a mistake too. That's like oops, I didn't know that, you know, I could do that and we would wind up here. So she falls in and she has this deficiency of not having her male counterpart in creation. And as a result, she somehow creates this like discharge, this like electrical discharge that is unwanted. And when she first sees it, and this is in the Gnostic text, when she first sees it, they describe it as an aborted fetus that she just didn't expect and didn't intend to be there. And so she saw it, and then she cast it far, far, far away, covered it in clouds, said, okay, this is like somewhere else. I don't got to worry about it because I'm falling into this new reality that I've never been in before. She's also a younger Aeon, younger creator goddess. So she doesn't have very much experience. And she was like, okay, just like go over there. I don't want to deal with you. I'm going to figure out how to get my shit together. And this creation or whatever it was can figure its own shit out. And this is in the little PDF that I wrote, and it's very interesting. A scientist in the 1800s, Andrew Cross, he discovered that if you electrify, I think it was a wet crystal. Like I think it's crystal and water, and you add electricity, something like that. I have it written in there, and also you can look them up. At a certain point, insects appear out of nowhere, like spontaneous life. I'm not even kidding. Oh, look at that, like a bottle. Legit, like insects appear out of nowhere, and they're identified as like something close to a fruit fly, something like that, where they literally just appeared. There was no life, and then suddenly with the electricity and the crystal and water, I'm not sure, it was like bzz, suddenly they just appeared, and everybody thought this guy was crazy, but he was like, yo, I can do it again. So that is like a real example of an electric force, which is what Sophia's body is, and on some level, an electric force creating a discharge that is like an insect in nature. Okay, so that's something that like actually happens in our reality, which is just so freaking crazy. And that I got from John Lamlash. He's incredible. So that's a reality that happens. And this is what happened with Sophia, is she accidentally, by mistake, created this life that is like an insect and just doesn't really have a purpose other than like, you know? And that's the Archons. I was like, okay, which moon am I going to go with this? What she created was the head Archon. And he, in turn, because he had a piece of her, he was like from her, he in turn created, this is what the Gnostics say, a drone-like insect species that are like workers that he would, boss around and get them to do stuff for him. But they don't have a soul. They don't have consciousness. They just have a mimetic nature. They only know how to copy. And that's because they have just a tiny fraction of Sophia's intelligence. And if I haven't made this clear, is she is wisdom. It's the Greek word for wisdom is Sophia. So they had like a tiny little fraction of her wisdom. And with that, while she was still falling through space, they kept like coming back and like bothering her and being like, because it's technically their mother, and there's that kind of connection. And like, I don't know what's happening at this time. They're in space, right? And so while she was, and who knows what kind of time this took, while she was devising a plan as she was falling and trying to save her beloved humanity, they kept coming back. And while she eventually was able to place the human genome in the Orion Nebula, the heart, M42, because of her fall, the human genome like sheared and like kind of split a little bit. And I believe that's the splitting of the sexes. I'm not exactly clear on that. But that is also an anomaly, also a mistake that she didn't intend to happen. And while she deposited that in Orion, she was still falling, and eventually, because she's wisdomous, it's from Friends, she devised a trimorphic plan, a 3-body solution, a planet, a moon, and a sun. And as she thought about this, she is still in her creator mode, in her imagination, where things just go like a lucid dream. Like, it's just like, bam. She became the earth. And she pulled in the moon. That's like the pearl, as John Lamlash says. I just love that. And she pulled in the sun. Our sun. And so her dream body, her material dream body, is the earth, is Gaia. But what are the Archons doing at this point? What they're doing is their best to do the same thing. So they made the solar system around Earth to try to capture her, in a sense. And that is why the planets are devoid of life. I've always had that question of being like, okay, well, if Earth is thriving and gorgeous and an incredible planet, is it really just coincidence that none of the other planets, like, okay, I get heat and whatever, that none of the other planets have any kind of life? They're just like dead land with storms sometimes. Like, so as per the Gnostic teachings, the Archons created the rest of the solar system in attempts to keep her in one place. And that is by the Archons because of their jealousy. And this jealousy comes from the head Archon not acknowledging his mother. So this is another instance of not acknowledging where you come from and who you should be working with. Like, we had that sense before with Sophia and Thelete. That's a dog, you can hear it. And we get that sense again with the head archon, who they called Yaldabaoth. I can never say it out loud. They called him the Demiurge. And they called him many names. Sackless, the blind. He was created by a complete accident, and Sophia just thought she could just like brush it off and, you know, get it over with. And instead, he just thought that he was the only one there because she had cast him off far, far away. So he thought he was the only one that existed, and he was like, he can't look up. This is something in the Gnostic text. He can't look up, and that's something that's very special about us because it allows us to look to our pineal gland when we look up, when we meditate. Anyways, he is blind. He cannot look up. I don't know how much he can actually see. I believe that he can just see like this. So he was like, I'm the only one here. I am God, blah, blah, blah. And then as soon as he said that, Sophia showed up underneath him. It says in the Gnostic text in the waters. And she showed up as her... Actually, you know what? She might have showed up behind him because in the text it says it's her reflection, and he probably just didn't see... he probably only saw the reflection because he can only look down. So she showed up and she was like, you're not the only one, bruh. Like, you're my son. And then he was like, you'll have no other gods before me. There is nobody else. There's nobody. And because he was the ruler of the rest of the archons, which aren't, they don't have his capacities. For some reason, him being the first allowed him to have more capacity, I guess. Maybe because he was the only thing that was an offshoot of Sophia, and then he used whatever little creative abilities he had to create these things that don't really have life. They're just they've been described as robots, actually. And apparently they can't breathe this atmosphere because it's just like not simpatico. So this head archon, the Demiurge, as the Gnostics call him, is, and this is directly identified, he is the God of the Old Testament. So when the God of the Old Testament, Yahweh, Jehovah, whatever you want to call him, says, have no other gods before me, and I'm a jealous God, and blah, 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 it makes a little more sense now that we know that he knows. And this was one of the first things that he knew, that he wasn't alone. And actually, there is a power that's higher than him that comes before him, and that will show up immediately. Like, that's, you know, that's really transcends. So that's why in the Bible he was so angry and jealous and mean. It's like he's kind of like a poor angry toddler, you know. Like, that's kind of how I see it. And also in the Bible, like, people were wrestling with him. Like, I don't know why people are so obsessed with this God, because he's not even that cool. However, because of what she did, he was created, and also she cast him off so that he had the time to create these other things. Like, that's another mistake that she obviously had no intention of making. And this Demiurge made a contract with some groups here, with some people here. Oh yeah, sorry, I thought I wasn't recording for a sec. I was like, oh no. He made a deal to give them the promised land. It's going to be full of everything you want and blah, 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 and it'll come. Just wait, 2,000 years, 3,000 years, it'll come. And he made a deal with them to try to protect just this group of people and get rid of everybody else. So there is a force, definitely, that has been working against humanity since the earth was here, at least. And that's why we deal with so much garbage around us, in our water, in our food, in our air, in our schools, in our society, like just society in general, media, everything, government. It is not built for thriving human life because it is archontic in nature, and it comes from the demiurge and his jealousy towards humans, because he doesn't want his people to know that they don't actually need him, and that his, how some people say that Sophia is the wife of God, that Sophia is just his wife and you don't gotta worry about her. I'm like, because I'm the man of the house, blah blah blah. And it's like, well, damn, we deal with real consequences to that. We deal with not living in the earth and the planet that Sophia intended for us. Her solution was never us working from 8 to 5 every day for some guy who's gonna make like the friggin' 1,000 times what you make, and he's not gonna give you any of it. Like, that obviously is not how she intended for us humans to express as geniuses. No. We are meant to have full control over our capabilities, over our power. We have so much power simply because we were made by her, and that's what she intended. And we were made with, I don't want to say fully her capabilities because that would be too much. We've got about as much capabilities that we can handle in this body. So much so that we have multiple bodies, and it just spreads into dimensions, And they try to take us down at every single corner, every single aspect. And they were created by Sophia by accident. It was a mistake. Damn, man, And she's finding solutions, She's got the same abilities that we have to be in the present moment and to call on all of our power, all of our force, which when we pair it up with her force is literally unstoppable. That she just made a solution up here, a solution that nobody would ever friggin' think of, is that she is going to wake up and come online within her dream as the earth and approach those individuals who can hear her, who are ready to hear her, who can receive her, because they've done basically what you need to do to receive her is, 1, acknowledge her and know her story, and 2, this dog is like throwing me off my train of thought. Shoot, I forgot what I was gonna say. Yeah, no, lost it. Anyways, so she made a mistake, and she still had the solution. Sorry, her solution was coming online for us, and to receive her is literally just to clear out the gunk that's in the way, because the friggin' demiurge, the Abrahamic religions, all of the Abrahamic religions who worship Yahweh, Jehovah, those are not for you to thrive. They're for you to pay and to live miserable, fearful lives because you need to be scared of your God. That is something that has never freaking resonated with me. I tried so hard to get into Christianity and to find that relationship with God the Father, and I'm like, well, what if he's like jealous of me? What if he gets like angry of me? And I'm like, oh, what kind of God is that? If your God created you, they should love you as a creation, as something that they want to help thrive, not that they want to confuse and leave in the dark, and you just got to put a black box on your head and go like this and everything's good. It just doesn't make any sense. So anyways, she reminded me of that. That's like a long-winded way. And I wanted to explain it because I don't know if everybody's seen the other videos of who created us isn't perfect, and that is a huge distortion that we get from the Abrahamic religions, from the demiurge, is that I am perfect, nobody else comes before me, I'm jealous, and you better not take my name in vain, and blah, 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 blah. It's like, whoa, bro, like, chill, like, no. And he, with these religions and the men and women, the people that work for these archons who have, I don't know what they're missing, empathy, something, they just, they have this whole thing that you need to be perfect or God won't love you. You need to be sinless or God won't love you. You can't make a mistake, otherwise you won't go to heaven. You'll burn in hell for the rest of your life. And if you do make a mistake, you need to confess it, because if you don't confess it, then God never knows, and then you'll die in hell. And it's like, doesn't make any sense. But we do have that condition in society that if we are not perfect like God, then we're not loved. And so Sophia was like, I made you, and I'm not perfect either, girl. So we just gotta get through this and keep holding the image in our brain together with Sophia of the world that we do want to live in and what that looks like. Because when we do that and we imagine it, our genius capabilities as creators start to build it. It starts to build it, and actually, I mean, in my experience, it gets built in the astral first, and then we experience it in the physical. And something else that I want to say, and I'm not sure if I'm fully done with the mistakes things, but I want to talk more about love and partnered love, and I'm pretty sure I'll make some other videos about it. If you have any questions or you want to know more about it, I'm super into like love manifestation and stuff like that, and I love talking about it. And I also have a free love manifestation course on my website, which I will also link below. But I want to touch on the idea that Sophia, her series of mistakes and anomalies started as a deficiency in partnership. Like that's something I keep coming back to, is that she did it alone, and it's almost like we're not supposed to do anything alone, like completely alone. Like you can be alone, make decisions for yourself, whatever, but you can rely on your inner faculties. You can rely on the earth. You can rely on Sophia for assistance. You can rely on Hathor, Isis, these beings that live inside you and outside you and want to support you. And I just keep coming back to this pairing, this idea of some people call it twin flames, others just soulmates, of this male female pairing, this masculine feminine balance in creation being so important for us to rely on, because it creates like a bubble. When two people are in love, I don't care what gender you are, you have more masculine qualities or more feminine qualities. When two people are in love, it's like the whole world doesn't exist, you know? And that's my favorite thing about being in a relationship, is I can literally, it's like my boyfriend and I just exist in a bubble sometimes. And especially when we're feeling really happy and really good and just like so in love with each other, it's like anything that comes into our bubble is improved. And this is like light worker, astral, other dimension kind of work, because you don't really see it with your two eyes, other than you feel good in love and you feel rejuvenated. And the more people that find that partnership, the more people that find that love and are really, really in love and create that space around them and anchor that light, the more Sophia can come in and can be known to both people in that relationship and tap on them both and be like, listen, you guys got to do this together. You got to hold this in your mind together, because when two people, this is in the Gnostic text, when two people become one, you can move mountains. And I believe that is true on many different levels. I believe it's true on the level that when we become one with Sophia, one with Gaia Sophia as our earth, we can move mountains, because literally these mountains are her body and she will move it if you need her to, if that's your intention. And there's also the meaning that when two people come together and start to manifest and start to create from the same place, and have the same aim, it's so much more powerful than just you doing it on your own, and very powerful to do in a love relationship, in a committed love relationship. And it's not necessarily has to be done like that. You can merge with Isis and, help or ask her for help in creating that, whatever you want to create. And so there's just something that I'm fleshing out more, and I definitely want to talk about it when it becomes more clear. But it's almost like Sophia's first mistake was relying on her willpower alone. And wow, that just hit home for me. Because I do it all the time, where I'm like, I'm going to get this done. It's just going to be me, and I'm going to blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh, no, honey. I have so much support. I have so much support and love in my life, and I'm really grateful for it. And it can just feel like you have to do everything on your own. And that's the mistake. You don't need to. And when you do things on your own, deficiencies. And it's not that you can't get out of it. Obviously, we're all here. We're all making mistakes. And that's the beauty of being human. That's the beauty of all these experiences that we get to have is we get to be like, okay, I made this mistake. Don't know what to do. Bring me your solution. Sophia, bring me your solution. Planet Earth. Show me how I can fully merge with where I am, so that whatever I imagine, whatever I want to create, becomes a tangible reality that I get to experience with joy. Those are the things that we're supposed to do, because we can manifest. We exist in the astral plane. We have, the Egyptians say we have 9 bodies. I've been exploring my Ka body, which is fun, and I'll talk about that more as I flesh it out. We are so magnificent as individuals. Like, it is incredible that we can do whatever we want, and society, the archons, have told us we can't, because they can't, and they're jealous and they want us to be like that. But it's just not true. We are just not the same. We can do so much more, and that's why the demiurge is so jealous of us. So yeah, that's my spiel on mistakes. And if you're feeling like you're making a series of mistakes, or you don't know how to like not make a mistake, mistakes mean that you're doing something. Okay? That's what life is about. You're supposed to do, you're supposed to try, you're supposed to go out and then get shot back and then go out again. Like, that's just what experience is. And when you have more experience, you make more mistakes, and that's good. That's okay. That means that you're living. That means that you're creating. It means that you're trying, and there's no reason for you to be 100% perfect, because nobody is. Not even the Aeonic goddess that created you. She's not perfect. And when she brought that home to me, I was like, wow, so it's okay for me not to be perfect too? She was like, yeah. And I was like, yeah. So yeah, if you're feeling like you always make mistakes, then take a step back and take account of how much support you have. Is there a best friend that you have, or a relationship that you have, where maybe you guys want to explore manifesting together? Maybe you want to go on a trip or a vacation, and you say, hey, let's do vision boards together and let's manifest together, and putting 2 brains to one thing is amazing. It's just how we are supposed to create because of who created us. And it's not that we shouldn't make mistakes. It's that our feeling about the mistake dictates more about what actually happens. Like, if Sophia was, wherever she was in space, thinking of solutions for us to eventually become the Earth, Moon, and the Sun, if she stopped what she was doing every single time that the Archons bothered her, and she was like, oh, I made this mistake, and these guys are bothering me, and I really screwed up, and I don't know what to do, then I wouldn't be here having this conversation on YouTube with you. None of this would be here if she stopped. So that's the lesson here. We cannot stop. No matter how many mistakes we make, we cannot stop doing, being, feeling, loving, being in joy, being in love, enjoying beauty and pleasure and all those things. Like, that is what life is for. That is what she became the earth for us to enjoy it. And when we make a mistake, we can just go, okay, let's move on. Like, let's move on and think or use an affirmation, or just keep moving forward and keep asking for assistance from your loving planet that just wants to support you. An affirmation that I really like to use is everything always works out better than expected. That's a good one. I rely on it a lot. So, to close, I would like to say that I love you. And if you're feeling like you're making mistakes all the time, that sucks. And I really feel you. And that's why I'm making this video, because it just happened to me. Fireworks. Yeah, Sophia, she made mistake after mistake after mistake. And now she is correcting it. And actually, one more thing to say. That is something that is very, very important. Correction. It's not about you make a mistake and now your life is over. You need to think of this mistake again and again. It is, how can you correct? How can you correct this mistake? By working with your planet, with wisdom, with the wisdom that is inside of you, that is in every square inch around you. That is Sophia. Like, her whole body, her material body is the earth, and her dream body is just like all around you and can get you on any level that you're at in your dreams and meditations, etc. It is our duty, if we make a mistake, to correct it. And we correct it with her help. And we correct it with our own help of being like, it's not the end. I can correct this. I am an amazing genius creator human, and it is my duty and my privilege to correct this. And that is a huge thing in Gnosticism. If you make a mistake, freaking normal, but if you don't correct it, and if you know it and you don't correct the mistake in one way, shape, or form, in a way that you can, obviously, if it's like something that's completely out of your control, you can correct yourself, correct your energy. It's not about just being completely passive to life. It's about being, there's like a balance between passive and active. You have to do stuff, and then you make mistakes, and then you do stuff again, and you correct your mistakes, and then you teach people how to do the same, and then everybody has fun. So that's where I'm going to end it. I love you guys so much. I have my website is up now. I have my free love manifestation course, and I have my free Gaia Sophia PDF, and also on there, and this is in episode 3 of Mother's Mysteries, I have a shamanic journey to meet Sophia, which is really cool. If you don't know what a shamanic journey is, it's basically a guided meditation, but I take you places and we go places. And people always tell me, I freaking love this. People tell me that they see what I describe before I describe it. Like, if there's not magic, then I don't know what that is. I just feel so lucky to be alive and to be experiencing this. Anyways, I'll talk to you guys later. I love you so much. And goodbye. I gotta, whoops.